background and history of the Vietnamese American population on the Pacific Gulf Coast, and I think that will really help us start this conversation and dialogue. Before Hurricane Katrina, we had almost 8,000 Vietnamese American households along the Pacific Gulf Coast, the 3 coastal counties, all the way from Jackson County, all the way from Jackson County to Hancock County. Most of the Vietnamese lived in East Biloxi, an area devastated by Hurricane Katrina. And when they started to settle here in the late 70s, early 80s, mid-80s, all they knew was the shrimp and fishing industry, because many of them were in that industry in my native country of Vietnam. And they really didn't have an opportunity to attain a higher education because they began to work immediately, and these are hardworking people. And it's the work that is passed down from generation to generation. It's not unusual to see fishermen that owns the vessels and that they have maybe a father, a son, maybe uncle, like maybe even a grandfather, right? All working on the same vessel. And then the ones, and then the females, like the wives, many of them work at seafood factories. Now, when they first settled here, there was some conflict with some of the other immigrants that arrived here before the Vietnamese settlement, because some of them, the ones that came from Croatia, France, and they settled in East Biloxi, they were in the shrimp and maritime industry before the Vietnamese settled on the coast. Now, I know in those early years there was some conflict, but gradually that ended, and it's been a good working relationship. Currently, over half of those who hold commercial licenses are Vietnamese. At least 60% of the fishermen who hold commercial licenses for shrimpers, so commercial fishermen, or crabbers, or those who catch oysters, they're Vietnamese American. And this is really impacting them, seriously impacting them right now. And, because there's so many problems, inherent problems with the whole VP responsiveness. I can list a whole host of problems that they're encountering right now. It's their livelihood. This is their livelihood. This is all they know. For many of them, this is all they know. They don't have skills, additional skill sets, or experiences, or adequate education and training to fall back on something else, another occupation or another field. And when this disaster struck, they, at the beginning, they didn't truly realize the full magnitude of this, and so more and more of the Gulf Coast, the federal waters was closed, right? And right now we have close to 40% of the federal waters closed. The problem is that many fishermen here, they have licenses from both Mississippi and Louisiana. Many of them have larger sized vessels, and they can't go fish in Louisiana because much of that water, those areas were closed. And even though a few days ago, the waters here have opened in the Sound, many of these larger sized vessels can't shrimp in the Sound because the Sound is shallow, right? So they're stuck in this predicament. The problem is that when BP set up this claims process, there is no, first of all, the claims process is very arbitrary. You have to call an 800 number, and you have to give very private confidential information over the phone, like your Social Security number, right? And you're not given any kind of document to fully prove that what you stated is accurately being documented, right? You're assigned an adjuster who's supposed to follow up with you, and then you're told to go to a claims center. Well, the first claims center that was set up in Pascagoula, they decided they were going to compensate a fisherman who was also a vessel owner and a captain, $5,000, and a captain, just being a captain, $5,000, a deckhand, $5,000. But once they opened that second claim center here in Biloxi, that changed. Those numbers, some of those numbers dropped. And for example, deckhands were no longer able to get $5,000 but $2,500. When you ask for any kind of document, they refuse to provide it. And they know that many of the Vietnamese here have limited English proficiency, so they prey on that. They exploit people. I had clients who were actually eligible for a higher amount, but were told that they were going to get a minimum amount. That only changed because they took an advocate to speak up and say, this is not right. How come I know another deckhand is getting $2,500 and you're trying to compensate this person $1,000 when they're both deckhands and they both provide the same documentation? It took an advocate to point that out to these claim centers that is an unfair practice. Now, they have looked into trying to compensate people further to the second month, but they're making it more difficult in terms of documentation that needs to be provided. Right now, vessel owners are asked to not only bring in tax return, but have a monthly breakdown of all the expenses and how much they cost in the past 2 years. Well, many people don't keep good records, right? They discard the receipts, the invoices, any documents that will help them break down these expenses and how much they cost. And many people can't afford a CPA. You know, we were really struggling after Hurricane Katrina to try to rebuild and you know, our individual families and help with our communities. We just can't afford a CPA. So many of these people don't have a CPA that can help them, you know, do this work, document everything, and provide it to the claim center. But the claim center, BP is making it very difficult at this point right now. And even with the programs they came up, called the Vessels of Opportunity Program, it's not working well because almost 4,000 vessels have signed up. People are desperate for work. They don't want to sit home. They want to work. These are hardworking people here, right? They sign up for this program, attend a 4-hour induction basic safety training program, but even that is not 4 hours. Sometimes it's only 2 hours. So people are not even getting fully aware of all the safety, the basic safety measures that they should learn, right? Because the classes are being cut short. And then BP works with the Coast Guard to determine if a vessel is eligible to do the work, because not all vessels can do this work. For example, it has to be a steel boat, right? It has to have outriggers. It has to have a certain number of trawls and nets, right? So you just couldn't have anyone. And once you're determined to be eligible, then you're activated. Now, once you're activated, you're supposed to get compensated from BP by billing them. The problem is that they don't provide that to everybody who's activated. So there are some people who are billing BP and getting some compensation, but there are others who don't know that they can bill BP and get compensation. So that's the education piece that we need to get out to the community. And because I'm working primarily with the Vietnamese Americans, I'm seeing that more in the Vietnamese American community. That problem of the lack of consistent messaging and information. And right now, we only have 60 vessels that are actually working on the Vessels Opportunity Program. And like I said earlier, almost 4,000 signed up, right?
Wait, 16 or
only
60?
60.
60.
Right, 60. And of the 60, not all of them are here. Because what you'll see is there are some of these vessels, there are actually people who live out of state. They may have a vessel registered here, and these are not all commercial fishermen that are doing this work. They're actually hiring skimmers to do some of the work closer to the shoreline, and many of those people are not from here. And so when people are deemed activated and the boat is qualified to do this work, they're supposed to attend a training. Now, ideally, everyone should be getting the full 40-hour hazmat training, but that's not the case. This is daily work. You know, you're working with toxic chemicals and dispersants. You need to be fully educated and aware of what you're getting into, right? Yes, many people are unemployed and underemployed, and work is very important, but this type of work, people need to have informed, you know, need to be fully informed before they decide they want to take a job, right? And right now, BP is working with a contractor to conduct the training, and only one of the whole entire crew. For example, if a crew consists of 5 people, right? Only the vessel owner or captain is required that full 40-hour training. But everyone else could get by with a 4-hour safety, abbreviated safety training class. Only one person of the whole entire crew would get that full 40-hour time-walker training. And that is woefully inadequate. Now, BP is paying for the taxes, so one of the reasons maybe I'm thinking that why they're doing that is to save money in the long run. Because if they have to pay more people, the full 40 hours is going to cost them way more than a 4-hour class. I know that because it costs quite a bit of money to attend a 40-hour class. Another thing is that there's actually staging work. They set up staging areas along the coast, and some of that work can be done, local people could be trained to do some work. Now, some of it is specialized, like working with wildlife, right? But some of the other work is not specialized. When you get people like with a basic safety training class, and they can do the work. But many times, BP has been working with these contractors who bring in outside people to do a lot of the staging work. I've ran into over 20 people who work in staging areas. They're all, none of them from Mississippi, not one single one of them. Right. And when we have people here who do get to the right training and do some of that work, right? Because not all of this is specialized work that you need, especially workers to do this kind of work. And I know they have started a new program where you do some beach cleanup, and I know more of that's been implemented in Louisiana and Alabama. But that's maybe some of the work that we should advocate that our local workers get some of these jobs. Do some of the beach